Hello guys, I'm Skylar. I will tell you my story today, but I should warn you that it will be like a roller coaster ride. This happened to me very recently, so the incidents are really fresh in my mind. I saw that a lot of people share their stories about their mother-in-laws here, so I thought maybe I should share mine too. So my husband Max was a complete mama's boy. He had a very close relationship with his mother Bonnie, which got even stronger after his father died when he was a late teen. His father's passing away hurt his mom very badly. And ever since then, Max had become super protective of her. I wasn't around this time, but this is what Max and his friends had told me. I never had a problem with Max being close to his mother. In the beginning, I thought it was very sweet. But it started to become a problem when Bonnie started to treat me badly. Actually, she never really liked me. I think she only tolerated me for Max's sake and thought that we would break up eventually. But when we got engaged, she flew into a rage. She accused me of being a gold digger among many other things. From what I saw and heard, Bonnie didn't want to share Max with anyone. She was used to being the center of attention before I came along, and she wasn't willing to let it go. Bonnie was a very cruel, scheming woman, so she tried a lot of things to break us up. Even after we got married, she would constantly get into Max's ear about me and try to create problems between us. One time, she had almost convinced Max that I was cheating on him. I had to go to great lengths to prove my innocence to make Max believe that I was loyal. After that, we got into therapy and things improved between us. But Bonnie and her meddling ways stayed. I was so tired of her that I said to my husband, "Why can't we just go low contact with your mother?" "She's my mother, Skylar. I can't just throw her away. You know she had been cut off from her family after she married Dad. She has no one else other than me. Just because she's alone doesn't mean that we can just ignore or excuse her behavior." "What can I do, Skylar? We can't change her, right? But I am changing myself and setting up more boundaries. Things have already improved between us. I promise it will get better." I couldn't argue with Max because his logic was on point. No matter how hurt I was, I couldn't disagree with what he said. It was also true that Max was doing his best to balance both of his relationships and really putting in the effort that was needed. So I couldn't do much about the situation, but that doesn't mean I didn't want to get back at Bonnie. She was still trying to poison my husband and did a lot of antics to try and get information that she could use to separate me and my husband. And her obsession with me having an affair also never ended, so it was natural for me to want to get back at her. And it happened most unexpectedly. One day, I randomly got a long text from someone I didn't know. It was on Facebook, and he could text me because I had a public profile. Anyway, right away, I could tell that the guy looked a lot like Max. His name was Keith, but he wasn't a family member I knew. And when I read his text, I was shocked to know who he was. He claimed that he was my husband's half-brother. In the beginning, I told him off for spinning ridiculous lies about my husband's family, but Keith didn't appear to get angry. Instead, he sent me a single picture of Bonnie holding what looked like a younger version of him. Along with that, he sent me wedding pictures of Bonnie to another man. That was enough for me to agree to set up a meeting with the man. Keith said that he was in my city for some work and wanted to meet me and tell me everything. He was wary of approaching Max and told me that it would be better if I met him first. I agreed with that because I wanted to verify his story before involving Max, so I agreed to the meeting. The next day, we met at a cafe on my work break. Keith came along and introduced himself, and I could tell he was related to my husband. As I said, he looked a lot like him. I was still in shock and talked to him a little about the proof he sent me, and what surprised me was the fact that Bonnie had not only abandoned her oldest son, but also acted like he never existed. For a woman who loved her son to death, this seemed like bizarre behavior, but what Keith said was also checked out because he sent me literal proofs. He told me, "So, I guess you have seen all the proof I have sent you. Do you believe me now?" "Yes, I do believe you now, Keith. I'm sorry for doubting you." "It's okay, Skylar. I can understand why you may have thought that I was lying. Stuff like this doesn't happen to everyone." "I'm still in shock, Keith. I do have some questions before I get my husband involved in this. Did Bonnie never keep in touch with you? She never told us about you." "If she had, my life would have been much different and I wouldn't be here like a stranger. She never kept in touch. My dad tried to reach out to her for my sake, but she kept blocking him. And then she ultimately moved after Max was born, so we couldn't contact her again until now." "So you tried to contact Bonnie recently?" "Yeah, I tried to reach out, but she blocked me as soon as she realized who I was." "That's really horrible, Keith. I'm so sorry. Bonnie isn't actually a good person. She hasn't been the best to me either." I then went on to share my own experience with Bonnie. I didn't want Keith to think that his mother hated him and that's why she was being nasty to him. I shared my own story to make him feel better, but maybe it wasn't necessary because Keith said, "Wow, so Bonnie is just as bad as I thought she would be, probably even worse. Thanks for sharing, Skylar. The thing is, I'm not interested in having a relationship with her anyway. That will never happen." "Then why did you reach out, Keith? I thought you wanted to reconnect and get to know her again." "Believe me, I have no interest in getting to know her. I just want to meet my brother and make Bonnie face the lawsuit that my dad has left for her." I was curious to know what lawsuit he was talking about, and that's when Keith informed me that there was a big lawsuit against Bonnie for pending child support payments. The lawsuit was filed by Keith's dad, who had passed away by then. Keith now wanted the child support money as a payback for Bonnie abandoning him. Plus, he also wanted to know Max, who was probably his closest blood family right now. He straight up told me that he didn't consider Bonnie to be anyone to him. The two of us talked, and slowly I got to know what happened. Apparently, Bonnie cheated on Keith's father, who was her first husband, and her affair partner was Max's father. By the time Keith's father found out about the affair, Bonnie was already pregnant with Max. A DNA test was done, and it became apparent that Max and Keith weren't full siblings. There was a divorce, after which Bonnie happily moved on with my father-in-law and totally abandoned Keith. She fled the state after her divorce and never saw Keith again. Once she was settled in our city with her second husband or my father-in-law, she started to pretend that Keith did not exist. Max was never told any of this. He didn't even know his mom was married before, let alone that he had a half-brother. Keith's story had my head spinning in circles. I felt really bad for both Keith and Max. I wanted this story to be untrue, but there was plenty of proof which showed me that Keith was speaking the truth. From pictures to court documents, he had it all. He had only approached me because he wanted to meet Max through me and not Bonnie. He didn't know how Max would react, so he sought my help to make things easier. I had no idea how I would tell Max about all of this, but I did know that I would help Keith. It was my ultimate opportunity to show Max her true face, while also helping Keith get some justice. With that in mind, I ended the meeting and went back to work. At home, I was pretty stressed out about telling my husband. Like Keith, I too didn't know how Max would react. As I was thinking about these things, it was already time for my husband to come home. Max came home and looked a little annoyed. And when I asked him what was wrong, he said, "Mom has been going on and on about her doubts, Skylar. She's convinced that you're cheating on me." Nothing new there. What story did she cook up this time, Max? "Some friend of hers saw you with a man at a cafe. Mom said it was near your office. She kept going on and on about it." I did meet with someone today, but it's not like that. I will tell you about it later. I was unsure what you do about the situation, so I just asked Max to give me some time. He had learned from his past mistakes and was trying not to be distrustful, so he gave me time. I could have told him about Keith, but I didn't. This was a sensitive situation, and I didn't want to spring this on Max just because Bonnie involved herself in our marriage again. I can't believe she even had her friends spy on me. It was just plain ridiculous. My anger towards Bonnie kept mounting and finally reached its peak during that time. In the following days, she called my husband almost daily to tell him that he was making a big mistake by trusting me. It was a nightmare to deal with because she even showed up at the house trying to curse me out. Thankfully, Max intervened and kept her away from me. I was getting tired of her behavior, while also wondering what I would do about Keith. But I didn't have to wonder for long. That day, I was off from work and decided to take a shopping trip. I was on my way to Target when I spotted my mother-in-law's car in my rear-view mirror. I knew it was her car because I recognized her license plate. She had followed me multiple times before, so I was sure it was her. I don't know what happened to me that day, but I just snapped. After years of putting up with Bonnie's behavior, I was ready to hit back and do something, so I quickly called Keith and told him to meet me at a nearby park. Keith agreed to come after I explained to him what I wanted to do. We had been keeping Bonnie's secret between us for a few days already. Now it was time to confront her and tell Max the truth as well. After Keith confirmed the meeting, I drove around some more before going to the park I had selected. Bonnie was probably distracted or something, but she lost my car in parking. I saw her frantically looking into cars to see if I was in them. I don't know if this woman was sick or just plain annoying. Anyway, I decided to walk up to her and scare her a little. Bonnie gasped when I touched her shoulder and said, "Are you looking for someone, Bonnie?" You are the one I was looking for. Where is he?" "Where is who?" "What do you mean, who? Don't act all innocent, Skylar. I know you have come here to meet with your affair partner." "Wow, you seem to be sure that I'm having an affair. Has it ever occurred to you that you may be wrong?" "No, I'm not wrong. I know women like you. There's no way you stay loyal to one man. I'm pretty sure you're cheating on my poor son. Today, I have caught you red-handed." "You have caught nothing, Bonnie. I was just on a little shopping trip and I decided to take a break. But I must say, you made a bad decision coming here and approaching me." "Shut up, woman. You made a bad decision in trying to ruin my son's life. I will make sure my son sees your real face and divorces you. I can't wait to go home and show Max how right I was about you. All I need is a picture of your affair partner and that's it. You will be gone from my son's life." Bonnie was confident that I was having an affair, and she wasn't afraid to just stand there and wait to confront my alleged affair partner. She stood there smugly looking down on me like I was dirt. I was getting annoyed and wanted to tell her off, but I didn't have to do that. Just then, I saw Keith walking towards us. I smiled at him just as he smiled at me. We knew it was showtime. Bonnie had noticed my expression and had turned around to see who was coming. I guess she was also getting excited to finally catch my so-called affair partner so that she could make her son leave me. But to her utter horror, she saw someone she hadn't expected at all. I could see her mouth hanging open and the way her face paled. She even started to shake a little. She knew that something major was going to happen. As Keith approached her, she ended up saying, "What? What are you doing here?" "I should ask you that, Bonnie. What are you doing here? Do you really think that bothering your daughter-in-law would be a good thing?" "What? I wasn't bothering her." "Do you really think I didn't see you follow me, Bonnie? You are clever in creating trouble, but you are lousy in covering your tracks. I guess that can be true in more than one context." I don't know what you're talking about, Skylar. I'm leaving." "What's the hurry, my dear mother-in-law? I set up this meeting with a lot of effort. You can't just leave like that. Bonnie was trying to run away from the scene so that she wouldn't have to face what was right in front of her. She was trying to run away like she always did when caught or faced with a bad situation. Anyway, it was a little weird seeing her so scared and panicked. She was unusually good at hiding her true emotions and keeping a stoic face when I was around. She always wanted the upper hand and never let me see her weakness. But despite everything, I ended up discovering her biggest secret. I wasn't going to let Bonnie go that easily. She was going to pay for what she did to me, my husband, and Keith. So I kept hold of Bonnie so that she couldn't escape. She struggled a little but didn't try to hurt me. I guess she knew that upsetting me wouldn't be a good decision at that moment, so she gulped hard and kept staring at me and Keith. I laughed at her and said, "Well, Bonnie, you look really nervous for someone who claims to be innocent. Why are you panicking so hard after seeing Keith?" It's nothing." "So, I'm nothing now? Let's see if your youngest son also thinks that I'm nothing." No. Please, don't tell Max anything. Please, I beg you, don't get Max involved." "Why not, Bonnie? Doesn't Max deserve to know that he has a half-brother? He should also know that his mother is a horrible human being." Bonnie looked terrified when I said that. At that point, she knew that I knew the truth about her firstborn son and her character. She immediately looked small, and I could see the panic in her face. She stuttered a little and said, You know everything?" "Yes, I know everything, and I'm going to make sure Max knows everything as well." No, Skylar, don't do that to me. We can keep this between us. There's no reason to get Max involved. It's a request, Skylar." "Why not, Bonnie? You don't think before trying to get between me and Max. Why should I bother with your requests now?" Bonnie was exactly like a deer caught in headlights. She knew that I had the upper hand now and wouldn't hesitate to use it to my benefit. Besides, Bonnie knew that I would tell my husband about my findings because we have a transparent relationship and shared everything. So she tried to de-escalate the situation by placating me. Now her tone was completely different. Her voice was soft and she was pleading with me. I was surprised to see Bonnie change her attitude towards me so fast. She gulped hard and said in a pleading voice, "Look, I know I've been horrible to you, but please don't do this to me. I promise to never meddle in your marriage again, Skylar. In fact, I will actively encourage Max to be a better husband." "I don't know, but it is hard for me to believe, Bonnie. You have been nothing but nasty to me. I swear I'll change, Skylar, but please consider this one request. Please don't let this secret out." "Why should I listen to you, Bonnie? My morals say that my husband deserves to know the truth about his mother." "No, please don't do this, Skylar. Please don't tell Max anything. He can't know this about me. It will destroy our relationship. It will ruin my reputation. You should have thought about that when you cheated and then abandoned your child in the first place." Bonnie was taken aback by my words. She was desperate to keep her past life a secret. So she started to beg me not to tell my husband anything. She literally started to cry at the park while pleading with me. It was nice to see Bonnie acting like she should for a change. After trying to repeatedly poison my husband against me, Bonnie had absolutely no remorse. But she sure did turn her behavior around when she discovered that I knew her biggest secret. She knew very well what would happen if Max found out about her biggest lie. Everything Max knew would be proven to be a lie. He wasn't going to forgive her easily, if at all. So Bonnie cried and desperately said, "Please don't do this, Skylar. If Max knows this, he will hate me and leave me. I won't be able to live without my son." "I think we have already established that you can live perfectly well without your son. Or maybe only I was the disposable one, since you seem to be a doting mother for Max." "I'm sorry for what I did, Keith, but it has been years since everything happened. Can't we move past this? I already have a family, and so do you. Don't I deserve happiness?" No, you don't deserve any happiness after what you did to me and my father, Bonnie. I absolutely loathe you and wouldn't even have bothered to reach out in different circumstances. But we have a score to settle, Bonnie. What? What score? You have kept me from my half-brother and cheated my father out of child support money. I'm back for those two things, Bonnie. What are you talking about, Keith? Oh, did you really think that you would be let go so easily, Bonnie? You may have dumped me, but you forgot that my father was perfectly capable of suing you for child support. He's dead now, and I'm alive, so I'm here to collect the debt that he was owed. Okay, I'll give you the money, Keith. Just don't tell my son anything. I'm promising you to right now. Keith, I will pay back whatever child support money I owed your father. And Skylar, I will be the perfect mother-in-law from now on and not meddle in your marriage ever again. In return, I'm begging you to keep this all a secret. Keith looked at me and I gave him the same expression that he had on his face. We had decided long back that we wouldn't keep Bonnie's secret anymore. Bonnie was wasting her energy making false promises in the hope that she could convince us to keep her secret, but she didn't know that our decision was already made. So we looked back at her and said in a stoic voice, "There's no use trying to convince us, Bonnie. Our decision is already made. You are going to pay for all your mistakes, and you won't be keeping me away from my younger brother anymore. We will tell Max the truth. And I will show him what a horrible human being you truly are. All you can do now is pray to God that Max still wants to keep you in his life after you betrayed both of your sons so badly." Those were some of the last words that I said to her before we left. Bonnie kept begging us not to do this to her, but none of us were willing to listen. I immediately went home while Keith drove back to his own apartment. I had already warned Max that I needed to talk to him about something serious. I also told him not to talk to his mother before talking to me. I raced home and waited for Max to come back from work. I knew I had to tell him the truth before his mother reached him and somehow twisted the truth herself. Max came home and told me that his mother had been trying to call him. He had kept his word and hadn't received her calls or texts. He was getting a bit concerned because his mom had called her a lot of times. When I had called him, I too had sounded glum, so he knew something really serious had happened. I sat him down and told him everything. I tried to be as gentle and empathetic as possible. It was a very hard discussion we had. Max was in complete disbelief at first. He got angry and started to say that I was making things up about his mom to get rid of her. I had expected him to react this way. Trust me, guys, we all think things like this can't happen to us until it really does. I had expected his reaction, so I remained calm and allowed him some time to cool down. Then I showed him all the proof that Keith had shared with me. Max looked at all the proof that clearly said that I was telling the truth. It took some time for the truth to sink into his brain, and when it did, he was crushed. He had his head in his hands for a long time and didn't say a word. I silently sat beside him and comforted him as much as I could. Max didn't say anything to me until there was frantic knocking on my door. We both knew it was Bonnie who had come to do damage control. Max looked at me with a blank expression on his face and then got up to open the door. He came face to face with the panicked Bonnie. The moment Bonnie looked at Max's face, she knew that the truth was out. She turned to look at me and said, "You told him everything, didn't you, Skylar?" "Yeah, I told him everything. He deserves to know what a monster you are. I knew you wouldn't keep this a secret. I knew you would use this to destroy my relationship with my son. This was your plan all along, wasn't it?" "How dare you try to turn this on my wife? She has done nothing wrong. If there is a bad guy here, it is you, Mom." "Son, please listen to me. I can explain what happened." "You want to explain what happened, Mom? How can you explain abandoning your eldest son and then hiding your youngest son from his own brother?" Max was a raging volcano while Bonnie was a crying mess. The entire confrontation was happening on my front porch. I just stood there by my husband, giving him my silent support as he confronted his mother. I knew that Max had just been given a piece of information that would change his life, so I wanted to be as close to him as possible and help him navigate through his emotions. He was pissed at his mother while she continued to just cry and say, "I'm sorry, Max. It was a long time ago. I was a different woman. I made mistakes." "Yes, you made mistakes, but even after years, you made no move to correct those mistakes. You are a cheater yourself, and somehow you tried to paint my innocent wife as one too. Even after everything, I stood by your side, but I did it for nothing because I don't even know who you are anymore, Mom." "I'm sorry, Max. Believe me, I'm very sorry. I was just jealous and didn't want to share your love." "I kept advocating for you despite everything you did, and now I get to know that you have been lying to me my whole life. You didn't want to share my love, right? Well, guess what, Mom? You won't ever have my love back again." "What? Max, what are you saying?" "What you have done cannot be forgiven, Mom. You have betrayed me and my brother in the worst way possible. There is no way I would want you in my life anymore. We're done here, Mom. You need to leave before I unleash my anger on you and say things that I will regret." Bonnie kept trying to plead with Max to forgive her. Max remained stoic and didn't even entertain his mom's words. In fact, he didn't even allow her to come inside our home. He was very angry and really didn't want to talk to his mom. Bonnie did her best to convince him to listen to her. She even threw in some colorful words for me. She blamed everything on me and started to tell Max that I had intentionally told him everything just to destroy their relationship. That was apparently the last straw for my husband. He got extremely furious and yelled at his mother about how she never took accountability for her own actions. He yelled at her so badly that even Bonnie got scared and drove away. She hasn't been back at our house since. After Bonnie left, Max broke down in tears as he processed everything he had heard. It was a tough time for him, and I didn't push him to talk to me that night. What I did was comfort him and let him get his preliminary emotions out. The next day, we had a more calm discussion about everything, and I finally asked if he wanted to meet Keith. Max immediately said yes and told me to arrange a meeting. Keith also agreed to meet up with Max immediately. I won't tell you what happened at the meeting because it was emotional and very private. I hope you guys don't mind me keeping those details from you. What I can say is that the meeting turned out to be very positive for us, but it also sealed Bonnie's fate. Max, after meeting Keith, decided to go no contact with his mom. He emailed her about this and then blocked her from everywhere. He also apologized to me for constantly siding with his mother and not being a better husband to me. I forgave him and actually gave him leeway because by then I knew exactly what a toxic and manipulative woman Bonnie was. I still get mad thinking about her, but what happened to her after was pure karma. When I tell you about it, I'm pretty sure you will feel satisfied too. Bonnie did get her just desserts. Max went no contact with her and we sent her a cease and desist letter. She had shown up at his job from where she was kicked out immediately. Then she showed up at my job and tried to threaten me for ruining her life, and that's why the cease and desist order was finally sent. Max now felt even more guilty because he had no idea his mother could be this horrible. Suffice it to say, he is being extra caring towards me to make up for all the times he sided with his mother and let her meddle in our lives. Don't worry, guys, Keith was not forgotten as soon as I got my husband to go no contact with his mom. Keith has now become a part of our family like he always should have been. He got his own revenge when he went after Bonnie for all the pending child support payments. Bonnie knew there was no way she could avoid getting out of this mess, so she made a settlement with Keith and sold my late father-in-law's home to pay him back. After everything, she dared to ask Keith for a relationship while telling him to convince Max to talk to her again. Keith had just laughed at her face and walked out. None of us are in contact with Bonnie anymore. Last we had heard, she had moved into a tiny apartment and started to work again, since all her savings were now practically gone. She tried to end my marriage, but ended up unraveling a world of lies that she created to hide the truth from everyone.